A woman in leadership. Perhaps you just started your role, you're a woman in leadership, and you're at the point where feel like there's a glass ceiling in your career. Maybe you're a man in leadership and you feel the same way. What can we do to help you break the glass ceiling in your career? That is what we're going to talk about today. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive and talk about this glass ceiling that people feel as if they are encountering as it relates to their careers. And I'm also going to share with you how leaders break glass ceilings and give you some insight to work on this so that you are reaching your full potential. And I will share with you my own personal story as to when I noticed the glass ceiling and give you some insight in terms of what happened to me, what was going on with me at that time, so that hopefully you don't make the mistakes that I made. Now, this channel heavily focuses in on high stakes, high pressure communication. So, more of your advanced communication skills and strategies is what I talk about here on this channel that will help you to communicate more confidently and concisely under pressure. Now, you may be wondering, how does breaking a glass ceiling have to do anything with communicating under pressure? Well, I will share with you that your ability to break a glass ceiling is directly, yes, directly correlated to how well you are able to communicate under pressure. And if you want to learn a little bit more about this, you absolutely want to watch this video until the very end. Now, when it comes to the glass ceiling that we sometimes observe in our careers, I want to know from you, have you ever felt like you have encountered a glass ceiling in your career? If you did, what did you do about it? When it comes to the term glass ceiling itself has the visualization of someone that is looking up, right? Looking up at a ceiling that's made out of glass. You can see the sky, you can see the clouds, but for some reason you just can't break through it. That's what people talk about when they're relating to breaking the glass ceiling. The glass ceiling, when you break it, right? If you think about it, when you break the glass ceiling, what happens? The glass shatters, and perhaps you're able to breathe in oxygen, right? If you're in a building, you're able to, well, you'll breathe oxygen even if you're in the building. But you get my point. You get some fresh air, right? Some fresh air. You feel like you can do a lot more than you can because the sky is the limit. When you're in that glass ceiling, or you feel like you're in that ceiling in your career, you feel like there's a limit. And so, one of the things I want to share with you as it relates to an executive coaching exercise that you're more than welcome to do is to think about specifically what in your life feels like a limit to you right now as it relates to you being a leader? What is it specifically that is holding you back from breaking the glass ceiling in your career? Maybe let's go even deeper. What is the glass ceiling? Hmm. What is it that is making your glass ceiling? Let's talk about that in just a moment. I want to say hello to those of you watching the live today. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And have you ever experienced the glass ceiling in your career? If you have, put in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it today. I mentioned the glass ceiling concept. What is it? We just talked about it a few moments ago for those of you who just joined the live. And now we're going to talk a bit more in terms of what is your glass ceiling? What are the things that might be limiting you? I'll talk about a couple of things that I have found to limit some of the clients that I have worked with, some of the women in leadership that I have worked with. A lot of times, those can be various situations, and I'm going to talk about those in a moment, but I want to see what's going on in the chat. I want to say hello to Zaid Khan 06G8W. Hope you are doing well today. Let me know what part of the big beautiful world you're joining from today. And if you have ever felt like you are in a glass box and you need to break the glass ceiling in your career, let's talk about it. Zaid says you converse very well. Well, thank you, Zaid. This channel heavily focuses in on advanced communication skills and strategies. If you want to be that leader that communicates more confidently and concisely under pressure, this is the only, Yes, I did say it. The only channel on YouTube you need to follow as it relates to this topic. I go live here on YouTube at least 7 times a week, and I am here to support you on your journey, regardless of where you are. If you're my direct target audience, I provide executive coaching and consultation services to, which are women in leadership, or you happen to be a man in leadership, or someone thinking about leadership, regardless of where you are in the world today, I'm here to support you on your journey. Now, as I mentioned, there's a lot of limitations that people experience. And for those of you watching live and watching the replay, what are some of those limitations that you feel like you have on your career right now? I'll list a couple of them that I've seen a lot of people struggle with. Many times people feel as if their skills are limited. There is a certain skill that they need to have. And because they do not have this skill, they cannot break the glass ceiling. Let me know if the skill one resonates with you. Sometimes people will say it's their finances. They will say, I do not have the income that I would like to have to feel like I have broken the glass ceiling. So, income could be a limitation. What about your location? Perhaps you may be in an environment where you feel as if this environment itself is not allowing me to grow and develop the way that I want to be as a leader, and I'm limited. It could be your environment. It could be your industry. It could be the field you are in. Maybe your profession you chose many years ago is not the profession you want to be in anymore. That could be a glass ceiling for you. But what is it? What is your glass ceiling? This is executive coaching exercise. Get a pen, get a paper. And if you're watching this video and you want to know about how to break your glass ceiling, then this is where you can start. Let's define what is your glass ceiling. Okay, we have to dig deep. This is what we do as executive coaches. We are trained to help make movement happen in your life a lot faster than it would on your own because we know exactly specifically what we need to do. Now, what are your limits? What are some of the limitations that you have in your career right now? What's holding you up? What's holding you back? Get a pen, get a paper, write them down specifically. Now, we'll go into this a little bit more. I'll share with you personally when I experienced a glass ceiling in my career, the first time I experienced it. So that hopefully you start to understand where you can make mistakes. And I don't want you to make the mistakes that I made because I wish I would have perhaps recognize my glass ceiling a bit earlier than what I did. But I want to talk to you about it because I really want you all to help you to be able to move forward. Okay, let me go to the chat. Gabby Velasquez, hello, 7989. So I like your hair. Thank you, Gabby. Appreciate that. Ches Man of Culture. Hey, hello, Ches. Good to see you, friend. How you doing today? High five. Ches says, hello, what is a glass ceiling? Okay, great, Ches. So appreciate being here, friend. Now, a glass ceiling, we talked about this just a few moments ago, but Ches, because I know you're a subscriber, I'm gonna go over it again just for you, friend. A glass ceiling, there's an analogy I want you to think about as it relates to a glass ceiling, and then I'll go into what I mentioned a moment ago before you join. When you are in a building, and you are perhaps in a building that has a glass ceiling, you are confined to a box, so to speak, or wherever the building is, where you can look up and you can see the clouds, you can see the sky, but you can't see what else is beyond there. And when you feel like you're in a glass ceiling, it feels as if you are in a confined space and you're limited in terms of how far you can go. When you break the glass ceiling, and this is a term that comes up professionally, when you break the glass ceiling, meaning that you have broken your limits, you are able to function at your highest potential, or you're working towards that, that is when you start to see that your possibilities and what you can accomplish in your career is limitless. If you were in a building and it was all glass and you looked at the ceiling, you can't go any you can't go past the ceiling. The ceiling is going to cap you, Chaz. You can't go past the ceiling. Like you can't go past it. But if the ceiling is broken, then you're able to reach up to the clouds. It's limitless. The sky is limitless. That is the analogy of the glass ceiling. Now, there's a couple things we just talked about that will limit your glass ceiling, or what constitutes your glass ceiling. A couple things, Ches, I mentioned a moment ago. It could be the role that you're in right now. It may be the industry where you feel as if you have a higher potential, and I know you do, specifically from our conversation this week, where you know you are functioning at a higher potential, but you are being limited by perhaps the group in your case, or the structure of the role that you're in right now that's not allowing you to really reach that full potential and be able to function at that highest level. It could be finances. Someone could be in a situation financially where they are capped. They are capped in their income, and they're frustrated because they can't break the glass ceiling, or they can't get past this income because they're just stuck. It could be environmental. It could be just where you're located. Your physical location may not be the best location for you to really advance in your career, so on and so forth. So take a moment, for those of you watching the live or watching the replay, seriously, think about this. Think about, what are the limitations? What are the things? It could be your skills too. What are the things that you feel like are limiting you as a leader right now? Do you feel like you need an additional skill set? Do you feel like you need to go into a different industry? Do you feel like you need to earn more income? Which most of us feel that way now, especially with the way gas prices are. But many of us feel like there's just limitations in terms of what we're able to do. Now, I don't know what your limitations are. I can only tell you what I have experienced with my clients that I have worked with, and what I have gathered over the past 20 years of being in senior executive roles. But you have to determine, what are your limitations? What are the things that will limit you, or that are limiting you from reaching that full potential that you're looking for? Now, let's dive into, what are some things you can do to start breaking the glass ceiling, or reaching your limits, reaching where you want to go. So to overcome some of those limits, and let me know what comes up for you in the comments below. But a good way to start breaking that glass ceiling, or start advancing in your career and not being so limited, is you have to identify, what is the biggest limit. There has to be one big limit that is preventing you from moving forward. So what is it? And let's focus on that, at least that one. If income is a limit for you, and you feel like your income is limited right now, then let's think about, what can you do to start generating more income? What assets can you build to start generating more income? Many of you know I do. I'm reading several books. I've read Rich Dad Poor Dad twice. I really enjoy that book, actually. It's probably one of my favorite books. But this is something that you might want to look at as it relates to assets and liabilities, so you can start becoming more financially literate. This is if income is a limit for you. Now, we'll talk a little bit more, and I'll share with you what happened to me when I noticed a glass ceiling, the first time I noticed a glass ceiling. But let me go into the chat. I saw something come up. Ed Brook, hello, Ed. Good to see you, friend. How you doing? Ed says, "Do you remember me?" Ed, of course I remember you. Welcome, welcome. Ed says, "Hi." Well, appreciate you being here, Ed. So let's identify the number one biggest limitation you have right now. What is it? What is the one thing? What is the one thing that you know is limiting you from being able to do more in your career, go to that next level, and etc.? Now, while you're coming up with a couple of things, let me share with you what happened to me personally, so that you don't make the mistakes that I made in my career. Because as I reflect on my life, this is my birthday month. So now when you go into birthdays, you kind of reflect, oh, okay, well, let me think about life and how things have been. But I will say, professionally, I wish that I would have been able to pick up on the glass ceiling concept a lot earlier than what I did. So what happened to me, and many of you know that I am a doctor, I'm a dentist, and I've been practicing dentistry for a long time, but I have been in some really unique situations. I've been as a director, I've been a C-suite executive, I've been a manager, and I have just had a very comprehensive view of how businesses work, managing people, and all that. Now, I did that for many, 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 many years. I've been in leadership roles for the past 20 years of my life. And what happened to me specifically, I did not. I did not notice or even experience the glass ceiling until I was in a C-suite role as a C-suite executive. Now, for those of you who do not know what C-suite means these are your chiefs. These are the peoples that are at the highest level of any organization, any business. These are the individuals that are making those very hard decisions, that are having to make layoffs, terminations, build projects, obtain grants, do all types of things like that. They're really hard, the very, very hard part of them. It's a little bit different when you are CEO, when you're CEO of a business compared to organizations. It's somewhat slightly different sometimes, but the stress is still the same. Now, I didn't really realize the glass ceiling until I was in that role. And let me explain to you why. I have done so many things and I've been in leadership roles. I just did a lot. I did a lot. I was on the news. I was doing a lot of other things with congressional leaders. I was just busy, very, very busy. And I just came to the point when I was in a C suite executive role where I looked around the room and I felt as if, you know what? There's a lot more that I could be doing with my life than just this. I knew that I had a lot more to share, which is one of the reasons why I'm here with you all, friends. But I knew I had a lot more that I wanted to share and I wanted to give, and that the container I was in at the time was a glass ceiling to me. I could look up, I could see the clouds. I knew that there was an aspect of my life that could have no limits to it, but I was just still stuck in the role I was in. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a C suite executive. Many people aspire to be C-suite executives. That was not necessarily my intention. It just worked out that way. But many people aspire to be in those type of roles because that is their limit. They feel as if once you get to the C-suite role, that is your limit and that's where you want to be and you just want to be there for the rest of your life. Well, I found that I didn't want to be there the rest of my life. This is not something that I wanted to do forever. And I wish that I would have thought or reflected on this a bit earlier in my career than the time when I transitioned to a C-suite executive, because this was over 10 years past when I had finished graduating from dental school. And I found that if I would have maybe picked up on this earlier and had someone talk to me, which is why I share with you all what's going on, because if I had someone to talk to me to say, "Look, Dr. Jacinta, you may want to start thinking about what does life look like for you? What are some things that you want to try to accomplish? What are those big goals? What's limiting you?" I would have been well on my way as an entrepreneur probably a lot earlier than 2020, which is when I started my business, Excite Excellence Incorporated. I wish I would have started earlier. To be as humble as I can with you all, I wish that I would have realized the glass ceiling earlier. I would have been in a different career trajectory right now. I believe I would have probably had a lot more things going on in my business, been a lot more visible than I am right now if I would have just started earlier and just took the time to say, what are my limits? Where do I see myself? I didn't do that. I really didn't do that. And I did not really truly understand the power of executive coaching or working with an executive coach until I started to uncover that, you know what, I'm at a place where I recognize a glass ceiling. I know I can't go any higher. And I don't think I like it. I believe I want to do something a bit more with my life. That is the mistake that I made. I wish I would have done it earlier, which is why I'm encouraging you all, whether you are at the beginning of your career, maybe you're in the middle of your career, maybe you are more seasoned in your career, and maybe you've been a C-suite executive like me, you've had the title, you've been through the fire multiple times, and you've been burned a few times. I want you to really think about, well, what's next for you? What is it that would make you feel as if you are not in that glass ceiling anymore? And one of the things that factored into my decision was that I started my business and I wanted to make sure that I was doing as much as I can, which is why I spend so much time with you all here on YouTube, because I want you all to be very successful. If I had someone to come and talk to me many years ago, I would have been in a different place. And I hope that I'm capturing some of you, whether you're at different phases of your leadership journey, to really think about these things and make that determination in terms of, well, what are the things that are limiting me right now? And really, what is it that I really want to do? Now, sometimes what you do can change. Your decisions, your outlook, they may change. And a lot of times your big goal or your big vision, it could very well change when you are exposed to different types of environments, different types of people, different types of information. Your goalpost may change slightly, but ultimately there's something. Yes, there's something that is limiting you from being able to break that glass ceiling. What is it? That's the one thing I want you to take out of this live is to know what is that one thing that is holding you back from being able to break the glass ceiling in your career, advance to that next level where you want to be. Now, one of the things that happens to a lot of people that are aspiring to those C-suite roles and they think that, oh, I just want to climb the corporate ladder and this is where I want to be. Well, they'll get to the top of the corporate ladder, like I did, and then they'll find that, oh, wow, what do I want to do with my life now? And I just feel like when you are at that point, you probably waited a little too late, which is the reason why I want you all to start thinking about this early. Most of the time, when people are at that level of their career, they really start to think about their knowledge, their skill set that they've developed over whatever the tenure of time is that they've been in these senior level executive roles. They go into consulting, they may go into starting their own businesses and etc. But they find that the process is just very, 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 very difficult and very, very hard for them to do because you are not in the umbrella of organization. It is just you by yourself. And so this is something that happens a lot. And this is the reason why I want you all not to make the mistake I made. I'm telling you, I would be in a completely different situation if I had recognized this earlier. And that my environment had a lot to do with it too. The place I was living at that time was not conducive for the big vision I have for myself. So many of you know, if you don't know, I will share with you my mission here is to make the largest high stakes, high pressure communication content library for leaders on planet Earth. That vision could not be met in where I was living at. And so my environment played a factor into me understanding the glass ceiling and knowing that I had a limit, and then also just my skill set. I knew I had a higher skill set. When you know you're in a situation where you are outperforming other people and your skills are way up here and they're way here, you have to start remembering I'm outgrowing this and I can't stay here. I have to keep moving. I have to keep growing. So what else do I need to do to prevent that from happening? All right, let me go to the chat. Chaz Man of Culture says, honestly, I don't know what I want in my career yet, so that might be a limit. Well, Chaz, I appreciate you mentioning that, friend. And if you don't know what you want to do in your career yet, there's a couple of things that will help you to start defining it. And I share this with you, Ches, as a friend. I'm sharing this with you in terms of what I did to start thinking about my career a little bit differently and completely to be honest with you. So, in your case, Ches, if you like your industry, okay, you know that maybe there's some more responsibilities you want to do. But if you're at the point where you really just don't know, the key thing for you will be exposure, getting exposed to many things, many topics, many scenarios, many disciplines, and etc. This is the time for you to learn and start developing what it is that you like to do. Let me tell you what happened to me when I was at that point. Because Ches, when I recognized the glass ceiling, I had to go through the same process that you're going through. Even though I'm an established professional, I've been doing that for a long time, been a doctor for a long time, but I still had to start at ground zero to figure out, well, what in the world is it that I really want to do? First, I attended an event. So I attended an event. It was a it was a Damon John event. It was in the Panhandle of Florida. And that event specifically helped to open my eyes to see that there was a different world out there. Because for me personally, I was in the corporate world. I was in the corporate world, the corporate bubble. All I knew was the corporate America world. I didn't really know much about entrepreneurship. I didn't know much about running a business. I didn't know you could sell things on Amazon or whatever. What they were focusing in on wasn't necessarily the direction that I went in towards, but it's just the sheer fact I had exposure, Chaz, to see that, oh, wow. People really are making money doing this. For instance, they had some gentleman on there. I don't remember his name. I don't, but he sold belt buckles on Amazon and made like millions of dollars selling belt buckles. And I didn't know that as a C suite. I did not know that. It opened my mind to say, wow, interesting. Someone makes money off of belt buckles and I'm solving major problems. Well, what am I doing here? Why can't I do that? So I had to really start thinking about it in that way. And from there, I took some time I looked online. This is before AI was a big thing. Probably if I did AI now, it probably would have been a lot faster. But I took some time to really think about, well, what skills do I have? What are some skills that I can develop that will help me to do more in my career, that will use my strengths of public speaking, being a C suite executive, being in those senior executive roles, being in those really very highly contentious situations. How can I use this as a strength? And so I learned about executive coaching. I had never heard of executive coaching in my life, ever. I had never heard about executive coaching, didn't know what it was. And when I started to read into it, I thought, well, this might be a way for me to make a transition and maybe start a business, but I had to learn more about it. And I have to give a shout out to the coaching academy that I went to, specifically with Mariana Lead and her daughter, Alexis Tushio now, but went to the school. It was Go Imagery Academy at that time, and I learned a lot about coaching. I became a certified executive coach there, and then completed my ICF credential, which as an associate certified coach a bit later. But I started to pull in the coaching aspect. I looked at myself as a consultant. If you have any level of skill in in your mind that is more advanced than Chaz, I know you have a lot based on our conversations, then you want to start thinking about yourself. How can you package yourself as a consultant? How can you help someone else perhaps deal with the issue that you know how to solve the problem for? So I started doing a bit of that, and then that's how I started to develop my business. But it starts with exposure. So take some time, Chess, think about specifically if you're not quite sure what you want to do, this is the time for you to learn as much as you can. There's all kinds of things that happen online nowadays, a lot of things on the news. We all kind of get swept up in what's going on in the world, but it's really important to just find and just start learning. Start learning as much as you can about different industries, and something will land for you. And it will land for you in a way to where you say, "Hmm, interesting. I wonder how this would really work for me, and what are some things that I can do right now working in this role that I can start helping that I can start doing to develop specifically how I want to transition to that next level of your career." So Chad's exposure is the key. Your case is exposure, exposure, exposure. Learn as much as you can. YouTube is a very good resource. You just have to be careful and make sure people know what they're talking about. But YouTube is a great resource. Of course, different aspects of AI can give you more, analytics in terms of incomes for different careers and etc. If you're looking for that information. And reading books is important too. I know many people say, "Oh, I don't want to read a book. I'm over books." Reading books will completely change your life. And it's not necessarily reading just random books. I mean, some books are there for just for you to just listen to and just be entertained. There's other books out there that are meant to help you be able to grow. I personally started I've been in school forever, okay? I've been in school forever. I will be learning forever, but I have books that I read right now that are a bit more focused on business advancement, growing your business, financial literacy, and etc. Just as I mentioned, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm currently reading The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. I'm almost done with that book. And then I'm going to be jumping into three other books that I'm trying to finish by August of this year. Reading will help you. So exposure, Chaz, is what will help you tremendously as you are navigating that. So we've talked about a couple aspects of breaking that glass ceiling in your career, some of the things that can limit you. And I hope by this time in the video, you've taken some moments to figure out exactly what could be your limits. And if you know what that big limit is for you, then put it in the comments below. I'll be happy to give you some insight, just as I did with Chaz, in terms of maybe not knowing exactly what you want to do in your career. Exposure is the key for chess. But if you have something else and you're watching the replay, feel free to put it in the comments below. I will absolutely respond to your comment. And if it's something that I believe deserves a lot more depth, where I need to talk about it a bit more, I will absolutely do a video just for you and give you a shout out in the video as well. I'm here to support you any way that I can. Identifying what that big limit is for you is critically important, because when you identify the limit, then that's when you start making actions and taking actions, I would say, rather, to address it and start to learn about it and start to figure out what I need to do, how do you do it. Now, if you need some specified, customized support, because sometimes when you doing things on your own, it can take a little bit longer. That's why you reach out to me to support you. You're always welcome to check out my website at exciteexcellence.org to see how we can work together so I can help you overcome some of these limits that you might be noticing right now. Okay, so Ches Man of Culture says, thank you. Ches, you are so welcome, friend. I hope that gives you something to think about. Just exposure, Ches. Exposure is the key for you right now. If you're not sure about your career, exposure. Chaz, I wish, friend, I would have done what I'm telling you at least 10 years ago, probably more than that. I wish I would have thought about this when I graduated from dental school, but I didn't have that. I was so heavily focused on my career, my profession, that I was just tunnel vision. Okay. I didn't look to the right, to the left. I just looked straight ahead. And that's all that I did. And I think for some of us, in that when you're trying to build yourself, you have to really have that tunnel vision. But there gets to a point where you get out of the tunnel, right? You're not in the tunnel for the rest of your life. If you're driving and on the road, and many of you know I like cars, but if you're driving, you're not going to be in a tunnel forever. At some point, the tunnel is going to have to end, and then you see the light around you. And I wish, Chaz, I wish that I would have done this earlier, and I wish I would have thought about exposure earlier. But this is the reason why it's so important to just learn as much as you can. And of course, reach out for support whenever you need it. Ed Brooks says, how? So, Ed, tell me, when you mentioned about how, tell me specifically what you are referring to, friend. I'd be happy to give you any insights that I can, or support you any way that I can. So just let me know what I say. I know you said how, but tell me specifically which part of you, what are you talking about as it relates to how, so I can be able to answer your question. While I'm waiting for Ed to respond, there's a couple things going on. I do plan on going live tomorrow evening. I should be able to. If I'm not, there's a couple things going on. I have a few things going on birthday wise planning. But yeah, if I can go live tomorrow, I'll see you all then. If I am not able to go live tomorrow, know that it's just because I'm celebrating my birthday at here very, very soon. And I will be with you all back next week. I am doing the Friday night Q&As. I'm going to still keep that schedule. And now that I have a pretty good schedule in place, I know what my schedule is going to be like. I'm going to post it out to everyone over the weekend or tomorrow possibly, to let you all know these are the days I'm going live now, and etc., to support you all as much as I can. I mentioned to you that I do have a very short ebook that has an assessment with it that is related to you being able to communicate under pressure. It really helps you to identify the aspects of your communication style under pressure that you are doing very well in as it relates to your strengths, so that you continue to upplay those strengths and showcase them in your roles. And it also talks about what it is specifically that are areas you may want to improve upon as it relates to how you're communicating in those under pressure or those high stakes situations. One of the things, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the live before many of you joined, is that if you're wondering how does breaking a glass ceiling coordinate or correlate to communicating under pressure, it is a non-negotiable. If you're trying to advance in your career, there's going to be situations that happen for you that are going to be hard. There's going to be conversations that you're going to have that are going to be difficult. And the ability for you to communicate confidently and concisely under pressure is going to directly impact how well you are able to move through in your career, advance in your career, and be able to break that glass ceiling whenever you are ready to do so. Let me know what questions you all have. If there's any topic specifically that you would like to learn more information about, I'm here to support you any way that I can on your journey. If you are new to my channel, thank you for staying here and watching. And of course, if you're one of my subscribers, like Ches and Ed, I appreciate you all for being here as always. Excuse me, if you're new, there's a couple videos that you may want to take a look at. I have organized my playlists. There are videos, look for any videos on my live tab or in my playlist that talk about speaking under pressure, managing your emotions under pressure, eye contact, tone of voice, body language, and etc. Those are very good fundamental. They are fundamental fundamental videos that you want to watch that will absolutely be able to help you start to communicate more concisely under pressure. I will see you all hopefully tomorrow night. If not, I will see you all next week, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. Bye for now.